The stars burned cold and merciless above the Ashkari assembly. Dozens of alien delegations hovered in the Citadel's Grand Hall, their translucent bodies and plated exoskeletons gleaming under the eerie, blue suns of Vega Prime. Today was meant to be historic, the formal declaration of humanity's extinction from the galactic records. Overlord Virzil, a towering being of ink-black tendrils and molten gold veins, moved to the center dais. His voice pulsed directly into the minds of the gathered races. The Earthborn are no more. Their systems lie silent, their colonies abandoned. Their threats. He stopped. The shadows beyond the great viewing dome shifted. Something enormous was approaching. Whispers, clicks, and panicked mental murmurs rippled through the assembly. All attention snapped to the heavens. From the darkness between the twin suns, a silhouette emerged. Not sleek like the Vrelian skimmers, not crystalline like the Shur weavers. This vessel was raw, brutal, alive with silent rage. A leviathan of dark steel and scorched armor, its jagged hull stitched with the scars of ancient wars. In the silent awe of the assembly, only one dared to speak, an elderly Tshar diplomat whose voice shook the air. "What is that?" The human warship moved like a slow, deliberate god. No banners. No ambassadors. Only a weapon older than the assembly itself, reforged again and again, designed for one purpose: survival at any cost. On the bridge of the HMS Dawnbreaker, Captain Elias Ward stood tall, his uniform weathered but his eyes clear. Every breath he took echoed through a heart that refused to kneel. "Open the line," Ward said, voice low and unshaken. Lieutenant Caravance, her hands trembling slightly, obeyed. The ship's comms flared to life, a deafening signal jammed into every frequency. Ward spoke, each word carved in iron. "You forgot us. You thought time would erase what we are. You were wrong." The assembly froze. No response. No protocols. Just silence. A ripple in space twisted above the hall as the Dawnbreaker's weapons systems powered up, not locked, not fired, simply ready. It was not a threat. It was a statement. Ward cut the transmission. "Hold position," he ordered. "Let them feel it." Below, Virzil recoiled. His mind, engineered to dominate, found no purchase against the will radiating from the human vessel. No demands. No appeals. Just the undeniable fact of their return. A junior Syrith envoy whispered to his superior. "They survived, they evolved." The Overlord's tendrils flickered with unease. "No," he snarled. "They adapted." In the control pits below the assembly hall, technicians scrambled to recalibrate defense grids. Orders barked in panic. Shields raised. Fighters prepped. On board Dawnbreaker, Kara cast a glance at Ward. "Sir, they're scared." Ward gave a grim smile. "They should be." Above the assembly, the ship loomed like judgment itself, its battered hull reflecting the twin suns' cruel light. It bore no markings of empire, no colors of allegiance. It was the child of Earth's fall, hardened, silent, patient. The galaxy had believed humanity too fractured, too primitive, too self-destructive to endure. They never considered that destruction was what humanity had been forged for. Minutes passed. No one moved. No ultimatums came. Only the weight of presence pressing down like a second gravity. Finally, a single, bold alien shuttle, a diplomatic courier vessel, lifted from the hall's eastern platform, slowly approaching Dawnbreaker under full peace protocols. Ward's second-in-command, Commander Idris Cole, leaned close. "First contact or first strike, Captain?" Ward's eyes never left the stars. "Whichever they choose." Inside the assembly, the mood shifted from fear to terror. Factions fractured. Ancient rivalries reignited. The delicate web that had dominated the galaxy for centuries strained under the return of a species that refused to be categorized, tamed, or predicted. Overlord Virzil hissed orders for immediate containment, but it was too late. The damage was done. A human warship had entered assembly space. Uninvited. Unharmed. Unbowed. and every species watching from the spires and the shadows knew one thing with crystalline certainty. The age of comfortable superiority was over. The diplomatic shuttle drifted cautiously toward the Dawnbreaker, its silvery hull gleaming under Vega Prime's twin suns. Inside, 3 Ashkari diplomats clung to protocol, faces rigid with fear masked as dignity. None of them had expected the day's agenda to be rewritten by ghosts. On the Dawnbreaker's bridge, the tension was thick enough to choke. Commander Idris Cole leaned over the tactical console, scanning the shuttle's minimal weapon signatures. "Strictly diplomatic," he muttered. "No shields. No payload." Captain Ward stood unmoving at the viewport, hands clasped behind his back. His gaze was a blade, stripping every move of their enemy bare. "Let them come," Ward said. The docking clamps latched with a mechanical groan. A low chime echoed across the corridor as the airlocks hissed apart. Lieutenant Caravans, pulse hammering in her ears, flanked the captain as the boarding party approached. The Ashkari stepped onto the Dawnbreaker's cold steel floor, visibly recoiling from its brutal atmosphere. Unlike the gleaming opulence of the assembly's halls, the Dawnbreaker was a living monument to survival: scarred metal, exposed conduits, bulkheads blackened by battle. Ward stepped forward, every movement radiating restrained power. "I am Captain Elias Ward of Earth. State your purpose." The lead diplomat, a brittle, pale-skinned Kolari named Envoy Trass, bowed slightly, antennae quivering. His voice was tight, precise. "We come on behalf of the Ashkari Assembly to seek peaceful clarification of your unexpected arrival." Ward's face betrayed nothing. His silence stretched, heavy, deliberate. "You declared us extinct," he said finally, voice a low rumble. "That was your first mistake." Trask swallowed. "Those records were based on verifiable data, centuries of silence, derelict colonies, failed biomes." "You never bothered to look closer," Ward interrupted. "You wanted us gone. So you chose to believe it." Behind him, Cole shifted, sensing the mounting storm in his captain's demeanor. Trask pressed on, fragile. "We acknowledge the error. The Assembly proposes diplomatic normalization. Coexistence." Ward stepped closer until he stood barely a breath away. The alien flinched. "You want coexistence now," Ward said softly, "because for the first time in your comfortable reign you feel fear." No one spoke. Even the Dawnbreaker's engines seemed to hum quieter, as if listening. Ward turned slightly, voice cutting through the tension like a scalpel. "You will return to your assembly and tell them this. Earth lives. Earth remembers. And Earth decides who it calls friend." Trask nodded stiffly, retreating step by step until the shuttle's hatch swallowed him whole. As soon as the diplomats departed, Kara exhaled hard. "Sir, with respect, was that wise?" Ward's eyes never wavered. "Wise? No. Necessary? Absolutely." Minutes after the shuttle detached, the real battle began. In the cavernous depths of the Assembly's war chambers, Overlord Vierzel paced like a caged beast. His advisors hurled data streams across the central holosphere, scans of the Dawnbreaker, theories about its origin, its capabilities. "It should not exist," one of them screeched. Vierzel's voice cut through the hysteria. "It does." A decision loomed: appeasement, confrontation, or annihilation. But none of them could agree on which course guaranteed survival. Already, murmurs of rebellion sparked through the lesser species. If humans could survive extinction, what else was possible? What else had the Assembly lied about? Vierzel slammed a clawed fist into the conference table, shattering the projection in a shower of blue shards. "We move now," he roared. "Destroy the vessel before it infects the galaxy with hope." Across the Vega system, fleets mobilized. Back on Dawnbreaker, alarms shrieked. "Multiple contacts!" Cole barked, stabbing at the console. "Frigates, cruisers, closing fast!" Kara's face strained of color. "Sir, we're outnumbered 20-1. Ward nodded slowly, calm even as the ship vibrated under the distant thunder of activated weapon arrays. He keyed the comms. "This is Captain Ward to all hands. Brace for engagement." Remember what they took from us. Remember what we fight for. We are not here to survive today. We are here to be remembered. Across the Dawnbreaker, every crew member steeled themselves. Engineers whispered final prayers over their stations. Gunnery officers loaded rail cannons with trembling hands but unbroken wills. The first salvo came hard, a ripple of plasma torpedoes screaming across space. Dawnbreaker's shields flared under the assault, groaning but holding. "Return fire," Ward said. The Dawnbreaker roared to life. Its railguns punched holes through the nearest frigates, cutting them down like wheat before the scythe. A squadron of enemy fighters spiraled into oblivion, their sleek designs no match for Dawnbreaker's brutal precision. But numbers were numbers. The second wave hit harder. A fusion lance carved a deep gash across Dawnbreaker's starboard side, ripping through armor. Fires broke out on Deck 9. Damage reports flooded in. Cole grimaced. "Sir, we can't take much more." Ward's eyes narrowed. "We won't have to." He gestured to Kara. "Deploy the Markov package." Her hand froze midair. "Sir, that's untested." "It could. It will work," Ward said, voice like iron. "Trust humanity's genius one last time." Reluctantly, Kara initiated the sequence. Deep within Dawnbreaker's core, ancient human engineering, stitched from desperation and genius, awakened. The Markov package, a gravitic weapon so volatile it had been banned before humanity's collapse, unfolded its chaotic wings. Space itself twisted. Enemy ships lurched, hulls screeching under invisible forces. Formations shattered. Communications blacked out. Vessels spun helplessly, crashing into one another in a ballet of violent failure. In the chaos, Dawnbreakers surged forward, carving a bloody path toward open space. Inside the assembly, Vierzul watched in disbelief as his mighty fleet crumbled. His voice cracked the silence. Impossible! But there it was. A single human ship, dragging an entire armada down with it. The legend of Earth had been reborn. And this time, it would not be so easily forgotten. The Dawnbreaker tore through the dying remnants of the assembly's fleet, its wounded hull bleeding sparks and vapor. Every alarm shrieked through the bridge. Smoke coiled from ruptured panels. The ship groaned like a living thing forced past endurance. Captain Ward stood at the center of the storm, unwavering. "Status!" he barked, voice cutting through the chaos. Commander Cole wiped blood from a cut above his eye. "Main thrusters down to 30%. Shield core failing. Reactor cooling offline. We've got 20 minutes before containment breaches." Lieutenant Caravance struggled to stabilize the tactical display, her fingers flying over cracked keys. "Enemy ships are regrouping. Reinforcements incoming. Bigger ones." Ward didn't flinch. He simply stared ahead, past the ruptured glass of the viewport, into the blackness where their enemy massed. "They won't make the same mistake twice," he said quietly. On the tactical screen, a new symbol bloomed, a Dreadnought-class vessel, 10 times the size of Dawnbreaker, its silhouette bristling with weapons. The assembly had sent their executioner. Cole hissed under his breath. "They're bringing the hammer." Ward allowed a grim smile. "Good. Let them." Deep inside, he knew they wouldn't survive a head-on assault. The Dawnbreaker wasn't built for prolonged fleet battles. She was a ghost, a weapon of myth, not a frontline juggernaut. And Ward had known from the beginning, this mission was never about survival. It was about defiance. "Set course," he said. "Collision vector." Kara spun toward him. "Sir? That's suicide." Ward's voice remained steady. "No. That's history." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Cole gave a tight nod. "Aye, Captain." The Dawnbreaker banked, engines screaming against their limits, and turned directly toward the oncoming dreadnought. In the assembly's war room, Vierzul and his council watched in disbelief as the battered human ship hurled itself into certain death. "This is madness," one advisor muttered. "No," Vierzul rasped. "This is humanity." On the Dawnbreaker's lower decks, damage control teams fought raging fires with broken hoses and bare hands. Medics dragged the wounded from collapsing corridors. No one surrendered. No one fled. Ward moved to the intercom. His voice, ragged but unbreakable, echoed through every battered bulkhead. All hands brace. They wrote our obituary a long time ago. Time to show them how bad they are at writing history. On the bridge, Kara wiped her eyes and tightened her harness. Cole slammed his hand onto the firing controls, preparing every last missile, every last shell. As the dreadnought filled the viewport, its cannons ignited, unleashing a storm of plasma and kinetic rounds. The Dawnbreaker shuddered under the bombardment, plates tearing free, systems failing by the second. But it did not fall. It kept coming. Kara's voice was hoarse. Impact in 30 seconds. Ward watched, unblinking. Target their command spine. Right through the heart. Cole snarled, teeth bared. We'll gut them, sir. Ward's mind flashed to the faces he had left behind, his family buried under the ruins of Earth's last burning cities, the comrades who had vanished on nameless moons. Their memories burned hotter than any reactor flame. This was for them. The final volley unleashed from Dawnbreaker's surviving cannons, an impossible, defiant spear hurled straight into the dreadnought's heart. Explosions blossomed across the enemy hull. Systems failed. Power grids flickered. The dreadnought, unstoppable and perfect, hesitated. That was enough. Now! Ward roared. The Dawnbreaker's nose slammed into the dreadnought's fractured command section, rending steel and bone and plasma conduits in a single, catastrophic impact. The bridge lights exploded in a burst of sparks. Gravity vanished. Kara was thrown from her seat, Cole slammed into the bulkhead. Ward barely managed to cling to the rail. The ship was dying. All around them, the universe twisted, battered by shock waves and electromagnetic storms from the collision. Through the broken viewport, Ward glimpsed the dreadnought listing, burning, collapsing under its own catastrophic failure. They had done it. They had broken the assembly's strongest weapon. But the price was coming due. Cole pulled himself upright, coughing blood. Reactors gone critical. No chance of saving her. Ward nodded, heart heavy but proud. Send the final broadcast, he said. Kara, hand trembling, activated the transmitter. To all listening. Humanity endures. We have no masters. We have no chains. Remember the Dawnbreaker. The message shot into space, across every open channel, into every listening ear in every corner of the assembly. They would know. They would remember. Ward looked at his bridge crew, his family in this final hour. No words were needed. The Dawnbreaker's core reached critical mass. Light flared brighter than any sun. In a final, blinding instant, the ship and her crew became part of the stars. Far above Vega Prime, in a shadowed observatory, a young alien historian stared at the incoming data stream, wide-eyed. She whispered to no one. They were supposed to be extinct. Outside her window, the stars seemed to burn a little brighter. The light from the Dawnbreaker's sacrifice lingered like a scar across the Vega sky. In the silent aftermath, fragments of human steel drifted among the ruins of the assembly's shattered dreadnought. The stars bore witness. Inside the assembly hall, a funeral hush gripped the alien delegates. Even Overlord Virzul, embodiment of arrogance and dominion, sat frozen in disbelief. The Dawnbreaker had not fled. It had not surrendered. It had burned itself into legend. Whispers rippled like wildfire across the chamber. If one ship could do this, what if there are more? Have we awakened something we cannot contain? Virzul slammed a fist onto the council table, shattering the whispered fear. His voice roared through the vast hall. They are still weak. They are still broken. But no one answered. In distant systems, human signals, once thought dead, began to flicker to life. Silent colonies, abandoned outposts, hidden redoubts, all waking from the grave. Across the stars, the lost children of Earth heard the Dawnbreaker's final broadcast. And they remembered. 6 months later. Above the ruins of Vega Prime, a new fleet assembled, not of the Assembly's design, but of rebels, free species, and exiled worlds emboldened by the Dawnbreaker's defiance. At the heart of the fleet, under the battered banners of ancient Earth, a new warship floated, a sister to the Dawnbreaker, larger, deadlier, born from salvaged wreckage and human genius. The HMS Revenant. Its armor was stitched with fragments of Earth's final wars, its engines burning with the vengeance of a species denied its future too long. On its bridge, a new captain stood. Lieutenant Kara Vance, now Captain Vance, stared into the endless dark, her face harder, her eyes sharper, the memory of Dawnbreaker's death etched into every heartbeat. Commander Idris Cole, his body scarred but unbowed, approached. "Final readiness checks complete, Captain," he said. "All decks report green." She gave a short nod, her voice steady. "Then we move." The Revenant turned its prow toward assembly space, the vastness of the war-torn galaxy stretching before it. In the deepest chambers of the Ashkari assembly, panic metastasized. Defections crippled their authority. Long subjugated worlds rose in rebellion. Emboldened by the Dawnbreaker's legend, species once cowed into silence now dared to dream of freedom. Vierzul convened emergency councils, dispatched armadas, declared martial law across entire sectors. Nothing stopped the tide. For centuries, they had ruled through fear. Now fear turned against them. Their myths of human weakness had been shattered by one ship, one crew, one spark. They realized too late. You cannot kill a memory. You cannot erase an idea once it has ignited the soul. And nothing burns brighter than defiance born from injustice. The first battle between the Revenant and Assembly forces took place over the gas giant Helier. It was brutal, swift, and devastating for the Assembly. Kara stood firm on the bridge, her voice cutting through the tension as the Revenant's cannons tore through enemy formations. "Show them," she said. "Show them what Earth taught us." As the last Assembly cruiser exploded into atomized ruin, Cole leaned closer, his voice low. "They'll never understand, will they?" Kara's gaze remained fixed on the drifting wreckage. "No," she said. "Because they never understood what it meant to lose everything, and still rise." She knew what was coming. The Assembly would gather every weapon, every fleet, every trick learned over centuries to crush this reborn humanity. But she also knew something they did not. Humans didn't just fight to win. They fought because surrender was never an option. And now, they were no longer alone. The Revenant's victory message, like Dawnbreakers before it, flashed across the stars. Earth lives. Earth remembers. Earth rises. The message found its way into every darkened corner of the galaxy. Into every oppressed heart. Into every trembling rebel cell. It kindled 1,000 insurrections. It became a promise. Back on Vega Prime's ruined assembly hall, Overlord Vierzul watched the new broadcasts, his molten veins pulsing with fury and fear. Around him, empty seats multiplied. Allies abandoned him. Vassals turned. The grand empire he had inherited, built over centuries, began to crumble, stone by stone, lie by lie. "They were supposed to be extinct," he whispered, the words bitter ash in his mouth. But the stars had witnessed otherwise. In every burning wreck, in every rebel fleet, in every rising world, the spirit of Earth surged forward, undeniable and unstoppable. The war had only just begun. Far above, at the edge of human-controlled space, Kara stood alone on the Revenant's observation deck, watching the starlight bleed across the void. She remembered the Dawnbreaker's bridge. Ward's steady voice. The first glimpse of a human warship that had stunned an empire into silence. She closed her eyes, breathing in the weight of all that had come before, and all that was still to come. When she opened them again, there was only clarity. She spoke aloud, her voice firm as iron. "This is not the end. This is the beginning." And beyond the dark, humanity answered her call.